What are you doing? Those are clean clothes.
I never in my life imagined I'd be living with a toucan. Honestly, the thought never even crossed my mind. But life has a funny way of surprising you. And sometimes, the most unexpected moments end up becoming the most beautiful chapters of your life. That's exactly how Toucan came into ours. It all started on a perfectly ordinary afternoon. We were just strolling through a local market, no plans to bring anything home, just walking, browsing, the way people do. But then we saw them. Row after row of cages, dark, cramped, covered with worn-out cloths. And right in the middle of them sat a small toucan. He looked so frail, so frightened, almost like he had given up. His beak, which should have been bright and full of color, was dull and spotted. His body was covered in rashes. I remember my chest tightening, my breath catching. My heart whispered, "If you walk away now, this little bird may never have another chance." And so, we brought him home.
My sister's going to die.
When we first carried Toucan through our front door, he was so weak I honestly wasn't sure if he'd survive. His beak, meant to be strong and gleaming, hung heavy, like it was too much for him to hold up. But in his eyes, there was still a tiny spark, almost pleading with us to believe in him.
Welcome home, Toucan.
We began learning everything we could about toucans, their diet, their habits, what they need to truly live. We learned they need sunlight, space to move, and freedom. So we rearranged our home just so Toucan could stretch, explore, and finally enjoy the sunshine that had been stolen from him for far too long.
Oh.
At first, Toucan kept to himself. He would perch quietly on the windowsill, watchful, cautious. I didn't push him, just whispered gently to him whenever I passed by. And slowly, something began to shift. Each morning, as the sun rose, there he was, waiting ready to greet the light. It became his ritual, and mine too. Then came the day he began to explore. It was like watching a toddler take their very first steps. Suddenly, Toucan was everywhere, on the couch, the kitchen counter, even trying to snatch things right out of my hands. He had transformed into this playful, mischievous little soul, curious about everything. And oh, how he loved attention. Cooking, cleaning, watching TV, no matter what we were doing, Toucan had to be part of it. He followed us from room to room, as if afraid he might miss something important. But the moment that melted my heart forever was the night Toucan learned how to purr like a cat. Yes, purr. One evening, as I was gently stroking him, I heard a faint, strange sound. At first, I thought I imagined it. But it grew louder, more steady. Toucan was purring just like a cat. That was his way of saying, "I trust you. I'm safe here." That sound, I will never forget. Of course, caring for a toucan isn't easy. They need constant attention, companionship, and a lot of care. There were days I was exhausted. But you know what? Not once did I regret bringing Toucan home.
Where are you? But what are you doing?
Every day with him is like an adventure. He surprises us with his intelligence, his playfulness, and the funny little sounds he fills the house with. He's made our home warmer, livelier, full of laughter. Sometimes I swear he understands the love we give him, and in his own way, he gives it back.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Sneaky.
Not for you.
Looking back, I realized something. It wasn't just Toucan who needed us, we needed him too. He reminded us that compassion can turn into connection, and connection can blossom into love. What began as a chance encounter at a market became one of the greatest blessings of our lives. If you've stayed with me through this story, I want to leave you with this. Animals aren't just pets, they're
Good
souls
boy.
that need our care. Whether it's a dog, a cat, or a toucan like Toucan, they all deserve our attention, our respect, and a lifelong commitment. If you're thinking about adoption, please be ready. Do your research, listen to the experts, and make sure your heart and home are prepared. So if Toucan's story has touched you, I hope you'll like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thank you for listening, and for sharing a piece of your heart with us today. When Winnie arrived at the rescue center, the first thing people noticed wasn't her eyes, it was her beak. It had grown so long that it nearly touched her neck. Curved downward in a painful, unnatural way, heavy and misshapen like something she had been forced to carry for years. One of the rescuers later admitted they stood there silently for a few seconds, just trying to understand how a parrot could survive in that condition for so long. Later, they learned that Winnie's previous owner was a woman in her 80s, and by all accounts, she truly loved her. Everyone could feel that immediately. But after the woman passed away, everything slowly changed. Winnie still lived with other family members, but no one really seemed to understand how to care for birds the way her owner once had. Someone explained that Winnie had been fed fast food almost every day. Burger King, human food. And to many people, that might sound like spoiling a pet, but for a parrot, it was one of the reasons her body had slowly fallen out of balance. Parrots need to chew, crack nuts, shred wood, and work their beaks constantly. It isn't just play, it's how their beaks naturally wear down over time. But Winnie no longer had any of that. No proper toys, no enrichment, nothing that encouraged her to use her beak the way nature intended, and little by little, it just kept growing. When Winnie first arrived at the rescue, she wasn't friendly either. She was overweight, easily startled, and would lunge at anyone who came too close. Like an animal that had spent a very long time feeling the need to protect itself, maybe it had simply been too long since anyone truly understood what she needed. The very first thing the rescue team had to do was trim Winnie's beak. But that wasn't as simple as clipping nails. A parrot's beak contains a huge number of nerves and blood vessels. If done incorrectly, it can be extremely painful. So they only trimmed part of it at first, just enough so Winnie could comfortably eat again and use her beak without shocking her system. And then something happened that surprised everyone. Just 2 days after that first trim, Winnie began to change. She stopped avoiding people. One morning, she slowly climbed into a rescuer's lap and simply stayed there, quiet and still, like she had been searching for something she hadn't felt in a very long time: closeness. "She wants affection," one of them whispered that day, almost in disbelief. And from that moment on, Winnie slowly began showing everyone who she really was. Not an aggressive parrot. Not a difficult rescue case. Just a living soul that had been lonely for far too long. The more comfortable she became, the more her personality started shining through. She wasn't just healing physically, she was finally relaxing enough to be herself. Two weeks later, Winnie had a second beak trim, then another shaping session the following month to help restore it even more naturally. And after each one, she seemed lighter, more confident, more comfortable in her own body, like she was finally being freed from something painful she had carried for years. Winnie is almost 30 years old now, and at that age, she definitely has opinions about life. Every morning, the second her enclosure door opens, one tiny foot immediately stretches outward, like she's saying, "Come on already, pick me up." More than treats, more than food, Winnie loves being close to people. You could offer her the best snack in the world, but if she had to choose between that and sitting on someone's shoulder, she'd choose the shoulder every single time. She hates being alone, hates feeling left behind. Winnie wants to follow you everywhere, like simply being nearby is enough to make her feel safe. And honestly, she's incredibly dramatic too. If she accidentally pinches someone too hard, she'll instantly yell, "Ow," as if she's the one who got hurt. Meanwhile, the actual victim just stares at her laughing like, "Excuse me, I'm the one in pain here." But maybe the reason people love Winnie so deeply isn't just because she's funny, it's because after everything she's been through, she still wants to love. A parrot that once seemed trapped inside a painful, neglected body now just wants to lean against someone's shoulder, be held close, get gentle kisses on the top of her head. As if she never held any bitterness toward the world at all. And sometimes, that's what makes rescue stories so powerful. Not because an animal gets fixed, but because even after pain, loneliness, and neglect, they still choose to trust humans one more time. And if Winnie's story touched your heart, maybe take a moment to think about the animals in your own life. Ask yourself whether you truly understand what they need, not just what feels loving to us as humans, but what's actually healthy and natural for them. Sometimes the things we believe are acts of love may not be what these small creatures truly need at all. Thank you for listening to Winnie's story.
They said this bird was too crazy, so I took him home anyway. Nobody wanted to adopt him. They said he was too loud, too aggressive, too much to handle. But the first time I saw him, he was hanging upside down in his cage, screaming like the world had forgotten him. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, he looked right at me and said, "Hello." That was it.
Hello?
That was the moment everything changed. My name is Nadia, and this is Vandal's story. Earlier this year, I lost my mom, and honestly, I wasn't okay. The house felt quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, just empty. One thing that always brought me comfort was being around birds. Their sounds, their energy, it made me feel a little less alone. So one day, I told my husband I just wanted to go to a rescue and spend some time with them. I wasn't planning to bring anything home. I just needed a distraction, something to help me breathe again. But the moment I walked into that rescue, I heard him before I saw him. Loud, wild, non-stop noise. The rescue owner even warned me, "You don't want that one. He's crazy." But for some reason, that just made me walk closer. When I stood in front of his cage, he stopped for a second, looked straight at me, and said, "Hello, hello." And I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like he wasn't just talking, he was reaching out, like he knew something about me. Like he knew I needed him just as much as he needed someone to take him home. They always say, you don't pick them, they pick you. And in that moment, I felt chosen. I kept coming back, 1 visit, 2 visits, 6 visits in total. I told myself I needed to be sure. But deep down, I already knew.
Vandal, say hi.
So eventually, I took him home. At first, it was overwhelming. I have 3 kids already, and adding Vandal felt like bringing home a 4th child. He was loud, demanding, and full of personality. My husband was like most guys. He said, "I don't really want a pet, but if it makes you happy, go for it." He had no idea what he was signing up for.
No.
Then one day,
Use my hair.
everything
I am
changed.
cooking.
Vandal looked at him and said his first word, "Papa."
No, it's going.
And I swear, my husband melted instantly. It was like hearing your own child speak for the first time. From that moment on, Vandal wasn't just my bird anymore. He became part of all of us. Of course, he came with his past. He knew a lot of bad words. Words you definitely don't want a bird yelling around kids. And when things got loud in the house, he would scream right back with attitude. Sometimes even throwing his bowl across the room during a tantrum. You could tell he had learned all of that from somewhere.
Good job. Papa. Yeah, Papa. Papa.
So we started teaching him new words, softer words, kinder ones. I taught him how to whisper, "Hi, baby." And slowly, little by little, he began to change. Not perfect, but better. Happier.
Hi. Oh, wow. Wow.
What surprised me the most wasn't how much we helped him, but how much he helped me. On the days when I wasn't okay, when the grief hit the hardest, he would come close, rest his head against me, and just stay there. quiet, present. And sometimes he'd softly say, "Hi, baby." And somehow that was enough. Animals don't need big words. They don't need to fix everything. They just stay. And in those moments, that's exactly what you need. I truly believe Vandal didn't just need rescuing. I think he came into my life to rescue me too. He's about 7 years old, and from what we know, he spent most of his life in a cage. Birds like him are a lifelong commitment. They bond deeply. If they're abandoned, they can stop eating, lose their feathers, even get sick from heartbreak. And there are so many like him still waiting in rescues. Now, he follows me around the house, protects me like I'm his person, and refuses to let anyone near the bedroom when I'm resting. He plays, he talks, he makes us laugh every single day. He's not just a pet, he's family.
Vandal?
Sometimes I look at him and think about that first moment, him hanging upside down, screaming, completely overlooked. And I realize how close he was to being ignored forever. But he wasn't. If there's one thing this experience taught me, it's this. Sometimes the ones that seem too much, too loud, too broken, are the ones who just need someone to see them differently. And if you ever find yourself in a moment like that, where something inside you tells you to give a little more patience, a little more love, don't ignore it.
Okay.
Because sometimes the ones nobody wants end up becoming the ones you can't imagine your life without.